Oh, right. Now then, which one's Karen? You look taller.
The air is very thin up here.
Is it?
I didn't realize that the air was so thin
Right.
for normal height people.
Now you know what we have to cope with.
It's a tough life.
Right. I'd like to register the fact that this session would not have been possible without the full support of Karen. Karen, based in the United States, but does a lot of work in the Far East, including China, and has a lot of experience in the area. And she took it upon herself to try and make this session happen, to give you a message of what was going on in China. Xiaolong Peng speaks absolutely excellent English. If anybody can ever think about learning the Chinese the way he speaks English, well, you just couldn't do it. But, inevitably, he has a strong accent. And for those of you who are not natural speakers of the English language, we've tried to find a way of conveying a message to you so that you can, all of you in the room can understand it, whether English is your tongue, or English is your second language, or you're using the translators. So what's going to happen is we're going to bounce around the three of us, and if I feel that, it's not quite clear, I'll make sure you get it clear. You'll notice that the person who controls the slides is me. Apparently somebody said, never give a Chinaman the controls. But in fact, when we were here last in 2008, those of you here in 2008 remember I had two Germans from Daimler Chrysler here. So I've worked with Germans, so I understand that you need control of that as well. Right, let's have a look at what we're going to be doing. We're going to be looking at the background of the market, developing trends, the training element, networks, and summary and predictions. Right. This is looking at vehicle sales. Now, Xiaolong, what is this telling us? This is basically saying that by 2012, you were selling in China 16 million cars. Yeah?
Yes.
Was that expected?
For Chinese people, it's not unexpected themselves.
Right, so that's where you were looking to go. And in terms of demand of vehicles, the middle classes in China, is that where the big demand is?
Yes, it's increasing.
Okay. Can I ask, what does middle class mean in China? What is the typical salary that a middle class person would be earning?
Yeah, the middle class in China now, per year, they can earn about 10 to 20,000 US dollar.
10 to 20,000 US dollars. So that's the band that we're talking about is middle class.
Yes.
Okay.
And also they earn their apartment, very important. And also they have only one child.
Right.
It's a very less budget for children.
Less
education.
Sorry, so what happens if they have two children?
Yeah, penalty.
Penalty?
Yes.
So you get a penalty for having more children?
Yes.
Right.
Most of them. Because if the lady and the man they are only child, they can have the second child.
So say it again. So
if
the lady,
the woman,
yeah,
and the man,
yeah,
they are both unique child.
Yeah.
So they can have
one child.
Two child.
Two childs. Right. 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
They get dispensation.
Right.
They're allowed to have a second child.
Okay. Do any Chinamen have two wives?
Two wives.
Unfortunately, cannot.
Unfortunately not. Okay, fine. Jolly good. Okay. Right. Let's have a look at the total market here. we can see what the car park is, the total number of cars and light vehicles. Now, we got on this slide sales incentives 2009 to 2011, for that would indicate to me, and I'm sure the audience, that in 2008 something must have gone wrong. What went wrong?
Yeah, because in 2008 there is a financial crisis on the world. So the Chinese government, they're afraid that economic slow down. Then they incentive with a certain budget for encouraging the consumer or the population to buy, to consume.
Okay, so it wasn't just cars.
Not only just cars.
Right, okay. So
the incentives for buying the cars is very important.
Right. So if we look at the second line, that means that if you bought a Chinese-made car, you would get a rebate, but not if it was an imported car.
No, yeah, it's only for Chinese-made cars.
Right, okay. And then you had a scrappage program, which presumably is where it encouraged people to bring an older car back, which is then scrapped, and then they can get access to a cheaper new car.
Yes.
Okay, all right, fine. Now, what I want to try and bring out here is something that's probably unusual for most of us, is that in the car park, obviously we've got a huge country. Just remind us how many million people live in China.
1.4 billion people.
1.4 billion.
Yes.
With a car park of 115 million cars. All right. Which, I mean, let's just say a comparison to the UK is that we have 62, 63 million people, and we've got 30 million. So strictly speaking, you're 7 times under
yes.
the number of cars you could be selling
yes.
in a developed country. Right. Now you have cities, as I understand it, between Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3.
Yes.
What is the difference between Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3?
Yeah, so Tier 1, where the people have the high income. Basically, they are on the big city like Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou.
Okay, so if you could just point on the map there where the money is.
The red one.
The red one.
And the blue one.
So where do you live?
I come from Canton.
Which is where?
What
on
color?
There.
Canton, near Hong Kong.
So you're in the red?
Yeah.
So you're rich. Okay. So what is a tier 3 city? What does that look like? A tier 3 area?
Tier 3 area is in the different provinces. You have the small town in China is 1 million or 2 million people. And then the cities, okay, economically is not also developed compared with Tier 1.
Right.
But the Tier 2, Tier 3, they occupy most population.
Right, and so the minority are in Tier 1.
Yes.
May I interject something? The Tier 1 cities encapsulate about 9% of the population, whereas the Tier 2 and 3 cities, which they're between 23 and 25, that is the remaining 91% of the population. Also, when you asked about middle class, we talked about the middle class income bracket, but that's not the majority of the people in the country. The majority of people in the country are making between $4,000 and $6,000 US a year, and actually many people are making less than $4,000 a year.
Okay.
So it's important to put that all into perspective when you look at the Chinese market.
Right.
It's not uniform.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Karen.
Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
It's a good
Very good, thank
18
you.
things.
Yeah, I normally do the thank yous.
Of
Okay.
course.
David, we're a team.
I know.
We're a team.
Right. These are small cars. BYD, as I understand it, is the name of one of the key Chinese manufacturers.
Yes.
Just a quick question. How many Chinese car manufacturers are there?
Oh, that's a
Gosh.
good question.
I at one time, including foreign manufacturers and JVs, there were approximately 54, 58 companies. There clearly is consolidation, and there will be continued consolidation.
Okay, right. And we also have microvans, which you've decided to pick up as a highlight as a part of the market. Why have you decided to pick out microvans?
Yeah, just you say tier 3, the people has the most, they have more small companies, or the farmer also, they like those kind of microvans, because they with those microvans they can charge more materials, and also they are also good for passengers.
Okay, so it's a multi-use.
Yes,
you can
the
transport
multi-use.
items and goods, and you will also transport people.
Yes.
Which is why it's a big part of the market.
Very, very welcoming. Yeah.
Okay. So then we get on to the repair shops. Now, I think we need to specify that this is basically all repair, not just collision repair. And we've got Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3. Now, it says government authorized. What does that mean, Xiaolong?
That means the government give a certain certificate or registrement.
So they get a certificate?
Depend of the investment, surface of the garage.
Right, so the investment, the size of the garage?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also the level of technique of the technician.
So technical skill, the size of the shop, and the investment.
Exactly.
Right. Can I just clarify here, Karen? Is this, we talk about standards and everything else. What is this? Is this standards or regulation?
This is a regulation. This is not a standard.
Right.
And I would like to explain that when Xiaolong says investment, that's not only the investment of the square footage of the footprint of the business, but it also plays a huge part in the level of equipment that they have in the shop.
Okay.
So yeah, this is a regulation. It is not a standard. There is no government standard.
Is it recognized by the consumer as something of value?
Well, yes, there is some type of a little certificate, but basically the customer, the consumer, is more aware of the type of service and the look and feel of the facility than they are of the specifically government, class 1, 2, or 3. You indicated that these regulations span for both mechanical and collision. It's important to note that while it is very common to find a mechanical repair shop or a garage without collision, it is virtually impossible to find a collision shop without mechanical.
Okay.
So I think it's important to keep that in mind too.
Yeah, right. So here we've got an overview of the types of auto repair shops, and we'll be covering certainly the top line a little bit more, the 4S, in a minute. But I think that several people will be questioning point 4, tons of thousands of street repair shops. What is a street repair shop?
Yeah, it's a repair shop. It means a small shop.
Small?
Yeah, where they can only put one car for repair.
Right.
So often, this kind of shop is beside of the street.
Okay.
So also, the shop technician can repair on the street.
Can he paint on the
Paint.
street?
It happens.
Really?
Frequently.
Frequently. Fascinating. Okay. But I mean, obviously, as you say, they have no proper equipment and they have no training. So at the moment, the Chinese, they don't worry about it. They're happy to go there.
But for the car owner who want to pay less, they go there.
Okay, right.
And this number, the 15,000, in our last statistic, it become 18,000.
Right.
Because,
of the top line.
Yeah, the top line.
The 15,000 becomes the 4S.
That is the 15,000 is the statistic of 2012.
Okay, so you're seeing it's increasing.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Right. So 4S, it stands for Sales, Service, Spare Parts and Survey, all directly associated with vehicle manufacturer. So can we say to Karen that's a dealer body shop?
That's a dealer body shop that provides across-the-line service.
Okay. We understand sales, service, spare parts. What is survey?
This is a very interesting question. Getting statistics in China is very challenging, and you have to triangulate your information. I've gotten a number of different answers regarding that question. My initial thought was that the survey was a customer satisfaction survey. I came to learn that it is not a customer satisfaction survey, that today CSI, Customer Satisfaction Indexing, is virtually unheard of. This survey is the dealership providing technical information back to the OEM, to the vehicle manufacturer, about the performance of the vehicle that has been repaired. That's basically what this particular survey represents.
Yeah, here we have interesting, I've made reference to it earlier, we have a great comparison with another country, with Russia, where it's a very similar situation. For newer vehicles, the majority, 80% of the repairs are done within the dealers. And this is an example of some of the brands and the numbers of dealerships of what they call the 4S. The 4S is a well-known term, isn't it, in China, within our industry?
It means also the quality of repair.
Quality of repair as well. Okay. But unchecked. It hasn't been audited. Presumably it's because it's aligned to a car manufacturer, and the car manufacturer itself has standards. Therefore, 4S means quality.
Yes.
Okay. Right, let's have a look at some developing trends. This just gives you an example of the size of the business, and as Xiaolong's already said, even since he wrote these slides last week, it's gone up by another 3,000 body shops or dealerships on the 4S. If you were to say what is going to happen in the future, is it going to go up or down, number of shops, what would you say?
Personally, I think it's going up.
Going up, still going up?
Yeah, because the population is huge. At the same time, their income is increasing.
Right. So even now, Chinese automotive repair market is employing 2.65 million people and going up.
Yes.
So
and it's not enough for the technicians. Qualified technicians is always enough.
So you're having problems bringing people into the industry?
Yes.
All right. Well, we'll look at that in a minute. This is the accident trend. Now, is the accident trend going up? Is it going down? What's happening?
As the car fleet is going up, so the accident also is going up because of the many new drivers.
Okay, so and inevitably when you have more cars, you will then have more accidents.
Yes.
So it will continue to rise.
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at, is that 500 and...
No, 5 million.
Over 5.5 million accidents.
Yes.
All right. Okay, well it's nearly 4 million in 2010, and we're increasing. Some estimate 70 to 90% of vehicles involved in some sort of collision. Are you all bad drivers?
I can tell you, one of my friends, he buy a new car, he's a new driver.
Yeah.
In 1 month, he has 3 small accidents.
In 1 month?
Yes.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Okay. Can he see? Can he see?
Can he see?
Has he got glasses or what?
I think he didn't learn enough.
So we have... he certainly didn't learn the second and third time, did he?
So we say the road killer.
The what?
The road killer.
The road killer.
The road killer. Right, okay. Is it an education problem? I mean, seriously, is it a driver training issue?
Partially. It's partially a driver training issue. It's partially infrastructure. Many of us, if not most of us, we grew up in families that had cars.
Yeah.
We were used to sitting as a passenger in a vehicle. We had some sense of what might have been going on around us. For most of these people, this is a brand new experience. I'd like to interject something. We wanted to try to compare the number of the accident frequency in terms of insurance company reporting. We wanted to try to compare that, maybe from China to the UK, the US to Germany. It's impossible to find that information in China.
Right.
One reason is because the insurance companies don't want you to know it. Most of the insurance companies, those that have the greatest market share, are government-owned, number one. Number two, it is very normal in China that when you have a small accident on the road, you stop right there on the street. Doesn't matter how much traffic you're holding up, even though it's a small accident, and you negotiate with the other person. And it never gets reported to the insurance company. So this 70 to 90% estimate, that includes all of these other events. It's not specifically claims.
Okay, but the point is it does say collision. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well that gives us the size of the opportunity in China. Right. A Beijing traffic jam with people playing games outside their cars while waiting for the traffic to move. Sorry, what sort of games?
They're playing the games?
Yeah. What games?
Badminton.
Badminton?
Yes.
Right.
Because
okay.
They have been in the traffic jam.
Yeah.
Hours and hours.
Right, well, my observation is that any of you who have watched the Olympics, it's no wonder your country's so good at badminton. Because you spend it in the traffic jams.
So it explains also the Chinese, for the badminton World Cup, they can earn the championship.
Yes.
Because they are doing exercise anywhere.
Exactly, yes.
Including in the traffic jam.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out. Yes, thank you. Right, all right. Well, I can see the sense, but obviously there's no accidents happening there because nobody's moving.
It's higher.
Right, we've also got growth in used car sales, which is also happening. And presumably that's also middle classes buy a lot of used cars as well, presumably, yes?
Yes, because a certain time later, their income continue, so they buy a new car and to resell their old car.
Okay, right. And then we get on to the issue regarding the government investment. You said earlier that it's very difficult to attract people to come in the industry. So what's happening here? The government is investing in this?
Yes, because it's the lack of technician qualified or well-trained. So the government incentives or take a huge budget for incentives or for subsidy.
All right. So
there's vocational schools.
Right. So basically, the repair industry needs a solution to this, which brings us onto the training subject. And these are some of the issues that you face. If we look at the last line on that, perceptions of the industry, do you mean that young people coming in have a bad perception of the industry and that's why they don't join? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because the young people has not been well trained.
Right.
During their scholarship.
Right. Okay. So
clarification. I think Xiaolong may not have understood the question.
Right.
The question is, are fewer young people attracted to collision repair? Do they have a good perception or a poor perception of the industry? Is that an issue?
Yeah, it's a few.
It's an image.
Yeah.
Image issue in the industry.
Yes.
Which the government is trying to solve.
Sorry.
The government trying to help to solve that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
I don't understand.
And this is also an idea. Clearly, the manufacturer, is that the car manufacturer? Yeah, in red.
Yes.
They're doing the majority of the training.
Also, equipment manufacturers.
Right. So the role for anybody that's in the room that wants to approach China, very clearly, a great route to market is to provide a lot of training courses to people because it's important in raising the skills. Yeah?
Yes.
Right. And some pictures of a typical training institute where students are at. And here we have entry-level employee education. Can I just, so we understand what this is where people that come from senior school or below into our industry, that's 52% of the numbers come from there.
There's an error in the slide and we were unable to edit it. It was provided by another source. Instead of senior school, it should say middle school.
Oh, okay.
Because like many places in Europe, there's a divergence of the educational system at a particular point.
Right.
And so the majority of people that are working the majority of technicians that are working in collision repair have a middle school or lower education.
So that means that the majority of people coming out have had a shorter education time.
Right.
Right. So to attract people into the industry, a lot of work needs to be done at that particular area. Right. Okay. Right. Networks. These are the different types of networks that exist. Could you just say, Xiaolong, what is the trend of networks in China? Is it going to go up? Is it stable? What is your opinion?
Yeah, I think. Excuse me.
You need some help?
Yeah, please.
Okay. The question is, do you believe that networks or the concept of networks will become more popular in the future, stay about the same, or be less popular? What do you think?
Yeah, it's more popular.
Right. Can I ask why?
The main thing is this market is developing and increasing.
And increasing.
Yes.
And are the insurers asking for more networks?
Yes.
Right. And so again we have up here, and I mentioned it earlier, private investment is coming into the Chinese market. Yeah, that's where a lot of money is going on.
A lot.
Right. How many, Karen, do you know how many smart repair networks there are?
I do not.
Right.
Do you know smart repair networks?
I can tell you. I know one smart company chain.
Right.
And in 5 years, he developed from 500 to 2,000 chains in all
500 to 2,000
locations.
Wow. Okay. So there's dramatic.
So
dramatic
for
increase.
the statistics.
Yeah. Sure.
Obviously, for many of those small accidents, even the ones that are negotiated on the road, people would like to get it repaired because the car is still very much a status symbol in China.
Well, this is just an example of the top 5 dealerships in China, just to give us some idea of the size. And then we have, obviously, the insurance company repair networks that go through the dealerships and the independent shops. So it's a big part of the marketplace. So, no universal electronic estimating systems. So how do you decide what is the right price for the repair? Who decides?
Normally, it's the insurer.
The insurer decides.
Yeah.
Will make the final decision. The insurer will make the final decision
how
after a negotiation.
Yes.
With
how
the
does the body
shop.
shop? How does the body shop get to a figure?
Right?
Yeah.
Experience, speculation.
Acumen.
Do you remember those days, ladies and gentlemen?
I was going to say, do you remember those days?
Yeah. Good days. Yeah, good days. Good days, everybody's saying. Right, okay, so what you need to do is you need to talk to other people in the room about where this is going, because it will go. So at the moment, it's experience and negotiation.
I think it's important to note that while there is no universal estimating platform, many of the insurance companies have their own dedicated platforms. So the insurance company, whereas they have no experience actually in collision repair, they do have some type of a data set that that would influence their final decision. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right, okay. So in English, we call what you're doing horse trading.
Horse trading. Trading for horses.
Trading
okay.
That's what we call it. Right, okay. Right, let's have a look at then just an overall summary and some predictions. Why do you say that China is still in the toddler stage? Why do you say that?
Because I think this market is only 10 years history.
10 years old.
10 years old. So what did people do 10 years ago?
10 years ago, the Chinese people cannot buy a car.
Oh, okay.
Only government officials had cars, and occasionally farmers had some type of a vehicle.
Yeah.
God, that's amazing that you just can't buy a car. What a transformation for a country in a very short time.
A blink of an eye.
Right, so that's why you say it's a toddler stage.
Versus the mature markets.
Right. Is it still in nappies?
Nappies. Is it still in diapers? It's forget it.
Okay.
We don't need to go there,
Yeah.
right? Right, Susan? We won't go there.
Okay. Right. So, but also it's saying that the more sophisticated 4S model will increase. So there'll be an increase in market share and an increase in influence. That's clearly what that's saying. Yeah. So again, we are seeing, although the growth is slowing down of car sales, we're effectively, by 2017, looking at around sales of 22 million cars a year. So it will continue to increase. And if we look at this is an interesting one. It's inevitable that the car park will age over this time, because presumably the cars will be lasting longer that are being sold now, and therefore there will just be more cars on the road.
I think there's even a more very important underlying issue here. Right now, the 4S shops completely dominate the market for collision repair. But the majority of vehicles on the road today are either still under warranty or only recently out of warranty. Eventually, and the used car market growth is relatively new. Eventually, consumers will look towards the independent collision repair side much more than they do today. So that kind of illustrates how the trend of where the work will be going.
So if you were planning to sell into this market, you need to be aware that the independent sector will increase over the next 5 years.
It certainly appears that way today.
Okay. And so we know then that laws will come in, and stricter driving licensing laws. We should also add driver education laws as well, to avoid your friend having 3 accidents in his first month. But clearly what's going to happen is that government will presumably try and control the number of accidents as the accident rate goes up,
yes,
to protect the population.
Yes, since the new government,
Yeah.
They start to regulate
Yeah.
the road, the regulation.
Regulation. Yeah.
And for the new driver
Yeah.
education,
Yeah.
and for the like light control,
Right.
and the cross, the how to say?
The crosswalks, the
Yeah.
infrastructure,
Pedestrian,
the lights, the pedestrians.
sidewalks, pedestrian pathways.
Right, all
okay.
of this is new to China.
Right, all right. And just a quick look at the size of some of the insurance companies. These are the sizes of the top 41 insurance companies that are domestic, and then we have another 21 foreign ones. And you can see that even though the foreign companies are still big, the domestic companies are even bigger. And these are some examples of some of the companies that are involved with just enormous sizes of business, which can only dramatically increase, can't they?
And these companies have significant government influence. They're either
Right.
full or partially, they're either completely owned by the government or have strong government investment.
Right, all right, okay. And so this is some examples of some familiar names to most of us of that. That's interesting that Samsung, most of us know for televisions or mobile phones, they sell insurance. And they're quite significant player as well, significant, Samsung.
Yeah, Samsung is, I think, is a company doing multi-business.
Yeah.
And very, very present
Yes.
in China.
Right. And do you think they're going to continue to increase?
Yes.
Right. And as Karen has said, the independent shops are definitely going to get stronger for the reasons that you've given earlier. And this is an issue we started off with earlier. We talked about regulation, but there are no standards. Is anything happening about developing standards in China? Because surely you're going to have a major problem as you have these newer cars in the future, the independent sector. Is any work going on in developing standards? Who is developing standards?
Normally it's the government.
Government?
Yeah.
Government standards?
Lead the people to develop the standards.
Right, so the government is forcing the industry to develop its standards? Oh, no.
The government realizes that there need to be standards.
Right.
However, before we take that leap, I'd like to indicate that even in the vocational schools and the technical institutes, which are kind of college level, there's a huge problem in China because the instructors don't know how to teach collision.
Well, that's obvious.
So even if there were standards, there is a fundamental building block which is still missing.
Okay.
I just wanted to point that out because, you know, the fact that there's standards, that could be great. But if you don't have people that know how to execute them or train train others, then they may not be worth the paper that they're written on.
So big opportunity then.
Big opportunity.
Big opportunity, right. And it's also clear that from what you're saying here is that 4S is an easy solution for the consumer, yeah? They don't have to think about it.
Yes.
And then immediately after the warranty period, people become cost conscious. I have to confirm to you that is no different in any other country. It's exactly the same. But one of the things that I think we've heard this morning is the consumer is certainly going to be playing a bigger part. And it will, I'm sure, in China.
Right. Well, for example, in the U.S. market, the majority of our shops are independent. Out of depending on the number of shops you estimate, between 35 or 37,000, of that number, there are only about 6,000 dealers that have collision services. So in the U.S. specifically, the independent market is mature, it's established, and many people prefer the independent to the dealership because of the price issue, and they do feel comfortable that they won't be ripped off.
Right.
Whereas in China, we have the opposite. The independents are not developed. So there is this whole kind of a leap that will have to evolve.
Right. So, what does the future look like in China's collision repair industry? Well, the first thing I have to say before we sum up is how do you do business in China? Now, I'm going to ask the same question to each of you because we have a rather unique situation here. We have somebody who comes from outside trying to do business in China, and we have somebody from the inside that wants to do business with people outside China. Karen, just a quick overview on how do you do business in China?
We anticipated this question, and I'm just going to give a few basic points. Xiaolong has a different view, but he's also going to give kind of more in-depth. First of all, I would say you must go to China to see it. You know, we laughed, we joked, the differences, the language. You cannot believe it until you see it, number one. Number two, when you want to do business, you must always have a trusted translator. Regardless of wherever you're going for a meeting, and the other party will tell you, we speak English or we speak German or whatever your language is, bring your own.
Or they have their own interpreter.
They will say they have their own, but their own, A, may not be qualified enough to make your business meeting worthwhile, or B, clearly will be representing their boss's perspective in any event and may not be conveying your message accurately. So bring your own translator. Don't be frightened away because of intellectual property issues. Find a good lawyer in China, not necessarily a Chinese lawyer, but possibly a Chinese lawyer, but an expert on IP, and investigate. Don't automatically say, no, I'm not going there because of IP, because the landscape is changing dramatically. Be aware of the fact that you must adapt your business model to the culture. Even McDonald's has adapted its business model. The menu is slightly different than you'll find in Western countries. And lastly, again, on a very basic level, I would strongly urge you to find a local partner. And of course, you have to do diligence when you are looking for that local partner. That's what I would lay out, basically.
Thank you. So,
yes.
What's your version?
Yeah, it's Karen say, don't hesitate to go there.
And
when you go there,
don't hesitate, right?
Don't hesitate.
Yeah.
And when you go there, try to develop a professional network.
A professional network.
Yeah.
Right.
And also invest your time to develop a more closer relationship.
So closer relationship,
yeah.
Developing a network. And
in your network.
Right, and don't hesitate to go.
Yeah. And also, we should have a long-term strategic plan, at least 5 years.
So 5-year strategy plan as well.
At least.
So right. So is it to build business in China, does it take some time?
Yes.
Because you have to build the relationship.
Yeah.
So trust is really important.
Yeah.
So be patient.
Be patient, exactly.
Right. Well, what they're saying here with the crystal ball is that if you follow the combination of those two ways of doing business in China, and you look at the opportunity of growth, albeit it's slowing down, but it's still significant growth. There are many people in this room who represent countries that would die for the growth you're going to have in the next 5 years. It's a huge opportunity for companies that want to come in, but they have to look at the rules that you've said. This presentation was put together not only by Karen and Xiaolong, but also Motor China, Susan and Victor here representing them. They were also a big part in pulling a lot of data together. We tried to do this in a different way, and I hope with Xiaolong's help and also with Karen's help that you've got a really good picture on the Chinese market and the opportunities that presents all of us. Please give everybody a round of applause.